Hi, this is Bill Safer, and welcome to another episode of Hidden Treasures. This is WCCA-TV, channel 194 in Worcester, Mass., and worldwide on the internet at www.wccatv.com. Now on this show, we're going to try to educate and inform you about how to find and recognize what may be a hidden treasure. And before I introduce my very special guest, I'd like to do some shout-outs, say hello to some of the viewers, and they're from all over, thanks to the internet. I'd like to say hello to Joe Cook, Lisa Dubois, and Amber Lee Gill from Sanford, Maine. Thank you for watching. Also to the nice folks at Commerce Bank, who go above and beyond with great customer service. I did antique seminars for them, and they were just wonderful to deal with. I wanted to mention quickly that there used to be an old joke in antiques that people would walk into an antique store and say, "Do you have anything new?" So, you know, it's a contradiction, but there is a thing called new old stock. It's a stationery store or another type of store closed up, and they had things that were brand new in the package, and they're 30, 40, 50 years old. That's new old stock. But you're never going to get anything new or because it's not an antique. Okay, I would like to introduce my very special guest, Wayne Tuiskula of Wayne's Auction, and he's going to give you some information. And thank you, Wayne, for coming.
Thank you, Bill.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank you. Now, Wayne, what is the name of your business?
Central Mass Auctions.
Okay, and where's it located?
We run auctions at 267 Providence Street in Worcester, but we do a lot of other things, on-site sales, a lot of online auctions, so we may be running in different cities, towns throughout the state, or running estate sales as well.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's www.centralmassauctions.com.
Okay, and a phone number?
Yes, 508-612-6111.
Thank you. And I always like to ask, what types of things, are you a specialty auction, or do you do different things?
We try to get as much estate fresh merchandise as possible. That's a big thing with dealers and collectors. They want things that came straight out of an estate, and I'd say almost well over 90% of what you see at our auctions is straight out of an estate. So it could be it's a wide range of things.
So it's eclectic, all different things.
Exactly.
Like some specialize in firearms, some specialize in old books.
Exactly.
You do an eclectic mix.
Right.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, now, it seems that auctions are very hot in this country, and even overseas. I see twice the amount of auction shows and antique shows, you know, treasure hunt and the, you know, garage sale finds and flea market finds and all that other stuff. So I think people are starting to actually believe, and it is true when they watch the Antiques Roadshow, that they could find a hidden treasure out there, and that New England is one of the best places because we're a seaport area. Things came in from all over the world back from what, the 1600s on?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, we're rich in history here in New England, so you never know what you'll find when you go up in an attic. We've found documents from the 1700s and to things that are more popular now, things from the 1960s that collectors are looking for. So it covers a wide range of periods of history.
Okay, I always ask this too to auctioneers. What was your biggest surprise when the hammer fell, as far as something you thought you would get this much and you got, it was quite different?
One of the things was some pennies, and they were 1920s, and they weren't rare date, rare mint mark, but the condition was just fantastic on them. So we had a little over a roll, 58, and I thought they were nice, maybe $3,000-4,000, but they brought up $13,000 when the hammer fell.
$13,000. They must have been in almost uncirculated condition.
They were. They looked like they came out of the mint the day before. They were fantastic.
Well, you've heard of the stamp called the upside down Jenny?
Yes.
Right. Now, I read a story about the man that actually walked into the post office and he asked for a sheet of the latest stamp, and they gave him a sheet of upside down Jennies in the 20s. So he took it home and he said, upside down. What's the matter with them? But someone said, just put them away. And now, I don't know, each stamp is worth, what, 50,000, something like that?
Exactly. I hope the family still has them.
I think there's some floating around, so you never know. I would like to ask you, which I always ask as well, do you have any tips or hints for people that are going out to yard sales and flea markets and auctions of what to look for and how to avoid spending money for something that isn't worth it?
Yeah, I think one of the things to do is check online. Now that's a great resource. You can go on live auctions, online auctions, but you can also go to antique shops. Yep. And you can look to see what you might see a lot of. I found a lot of things to be reproductions, because I'd go to one antique shop after another and you'd see it in 7 different ones, and then you look at it a little closer and you see maybe the detail isn't good. So just have to be careful if you're buying things, no matter where it is, flea markets, antique shops, auctions. Know what you're looking for before you buy it is one thing. To be careful, and then try to learn as much about something that you're interested in also before you buy it. If there's something that fascinates you, like Roseville pottery or whatever
Right.
it is, try to learn as much about it. Do a little studying before you reach in and start to for your wallet and start to make those purchases.
Right. Well, I always tell people knowledge is power. I always tell them, even if you don't collect dolls, if you see a doll book for $1 at a yard sale, buy it, a guidebook.
Right.
Take them from the library, research on the internet, because, I mean, I've been doing this for about 35 years, and you can never learn everything. You can never know everything about everything. So, but if you know a little about a lot, at least you have a starting point, So
That's very true, and it's especially true with someone with my type of auction, where we do get anything out of an estate, and you can't know everything manufactured from every country around the world forever. So you have to learn, be a generalist, like you mentioned, whereas someone who specializes in antique firearms doesn't have to have that big, wide range of focus.
Right, and plus I find the auctions that I've attended that the people know what it is, in the previews, the ads in the paper, the online things. If you collect Civil War bayonets and there's one there, they're going to know it.
Exactly.
I mean, I was at an auction one time where there was about 80 Yadros, and you almost have to give them away nowadays. Nobody wants them. It just the man was told that don't expect more than $10 or $20 for each one.
Right.
Well, about 4 Yadro collectors came down from Vermont, and they went $80 and over for each one. So he made about $6,000, the consignor, and he was told maybe lucky if he made $400 or $500. So.
Exactly, yeah. It's who's there, and you want the auction house to promote things for you very well and use the internet and try to get some of the bidders, like you mentioned, who might be traveling a little further distance, who really crave those items.
They really want them. Well, I want to show some of the very interesting things you brought today to show our viewers. The first thing, now this may be the first time that our viewers get to see me get a hernia right on the air, but okay, could you explain what this is, please?
Yeah, I collect a lot of things related to Worcester, from old photographs to especially baseball, railroad things. And this is a station sign. Everybody's familiar with Union Station, but there also used to be another railroad station across from where Coney Island is on Southbridge Street.
Oh, yes.
The old New Haven station. And this was a station sign for the Shoreliner, which was with New Haven ran, and it would go from Worcester. One of the signs side says Providence, but it also go to New York City.
Oh, the other side is different?
Yeah, I think
Providence?
the other side's Providence,
Okay.
I think.
It's a good thing I had toast this morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's where it says to Providence.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a double-sided sign, which makes a little difference in price if I were to ever sell it. But these are
your
things from
personal. What would you estimate? Oh, sorry. I hope that wasn't the 50,000. Oh, okay. What would you say that a sign like that would go for these days?
Well, I purchased it from another collector who knew I liked Worcester-related things, and he sold it to me for 200. I've had other station signs made out of cast metal that are brought over 500, but 200 I think was a fair price for both of us.
I mean, they seem to be escalating in value, these different things.
There are some things that railroad related that are for sure.
I know that I collect padlocks, and if you have a Yale padlock and you have a Yale padlock that has the railroad on it, you double the value. Same lock, just different because it has railroad on it.
That's true. Yeah, there are collectors for it's a cross collectible, like you probably talked about, I'm sure, on the show, where you have different collectors from two different groups or two or three different groups.
That would be interested.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, this is very interesting. Could you explain this, please?
This is from Coe's Wrench, which is right over by Webster Square. The Coe's Pond is over there, and there was a big wrench company, and they gave this out. It was a blotter. It was an advertising piece, and it was for ink pens. The inside are all paper, and if you had a fountain pen, you could use that as a blotter. But they had their advertising on the outside, which is a celluloid wrench.
Very nice. Being a fountain pen collector, I recognized this right away, and these would be very prominent at pen shows before eBay, or even now when they have them, because there is a section of collectors that just collect blotters, section that just collects inkwells. You think that, they collect fountain pens, and some of them are very specialized, and this one wouldn't even last until the first minute went out because of the celluloid and everything. And I had a friend that worked here way, way back on Coe's Knife, and apparently he became very wealthy, had some patents to his name and things like that. So he was, I think he had competition, but he seemed to hold his own, though.
Yeah, the business was there for a long time. There was still, even when I was younger, you'd still see the old building there, and everything's been torn down.
Now it's torn down, yeah. Okay, now you have something I find, well, everything you have is interesting, but this is, Wayne?
That's a program from the Dead Horse Hill Auto Climb, and there were races that would take place. They'd start at the bottom of Stafford Street, which is also called Dead Horse Hill in Worcester, and they'd race for a mile to the top, and which brings them over the Leicester line. So race from Worcester to Leicester, and they actually reenacted this several years ago. So I live on the street, and we had a chance for a while to see Stanley steamers racing up our hill. It was pretty exciting. But this is one of the original programs. That's the third year in 1908 when they ran the races.
So this is original. This is not a reproduction.
Exactly, right.
Beautiful. Now, to go along with this, you mentioned, is this loving cup, and it's pretty good size. And if you would explain about this?
Yeah, I happen to have a friend who knew I was a collector and sold me this loving cup. And this happens to be the same year as the program. It was the third year they raced, and it was one of the winners. They had different divisions, and this was the 15th race. This person won this. So it's also from 1908. And like I mentioned, that was from a friend who's a collector. The other piece I actually picked up at a flea market in Charlestown, Rhode Island. So before I got into the auction business, I was a collector, and that's what got me interested.
Most people that are into selling antiques were once collectors. Very few say, oh, I don't collect anything. I just have an antique shop. Now, what's interesting about this is you won't be able to see it on TV, but I'll read it. It says Dead Horse Hill Climb, and it was won by the horse named Peerless, and it was entered by J.L. Snow. The time that the horse did was 1 minute, 16 1/5 seconds, It was Saturday, June 6, 1908, J.B. McKinney, driver, and it says Worcester, Mass. So this is quite a beautiful piece of history. I mean, I have never seen anything even comparable to this.
Yeah, thank you. And they were actually cars that raced up there, automobiles. And so I think it might have been a Peerless car, but it was an auto race. But yeah, it's hard to find good memorabilia still. You're lucky when you run across it. It's getting more and more difficult to find.
Well, you know what's the interesting thing is I have found some Worcester memorabilia, and it's almost always not in Worcester area. I'll be up in Maine and I'll find something, or I'll be in some other state, and you find them, you know? It's interesting. Now, this I know that people are going to be very interested in, and if you would explain a little about this.
Yeah, one of the things I really like to collect is Worcester-related sports items, and this is a letter from Jesse Burkett, who's giving an offer to a baseball player. So they signed by Jesse at the bottom with the offer to the player. And Jesse Burkett, people who live in Worcester are familiar with the baseball softball league, but he was a Hall of Fame player, played for Cleveland, and then came to Worcester and became the player manager of the Worcester team, and they played in Shrewsbury. So he was here recruiting players in this letter.
And this letter is from, it's very, very old, isn't it? 1912.
1912, yeah, so right, early, over 100 years old.
What a
now.
find that is.
It is, yeah. I bought that on auction, but I pick up a lot of Worcester-related baseball things. One of the things that was too big to bring is some photographs from the first perfect game in baseball was pitched in Worcester, and I have some photographs of the players from the 1880s.
Really?
That's probably my best piece of sports memorabilia I have.
That's great to when you come across these things, you know, it's like, you know, people finding gold. You know, you always don't know what you're going to get when you go out there. It's not like there's a store that says Worcester Memorabilia Store.
Right.
You know, you just have to hunt.
That's true, very true.
Now this piece, and I have a few of these old banks. This is, I could tell this is old. It's extremely heavy. And could you tell us about this, Wayne?
Yeah, sure. It's Cass Metal Bank, and it's from Worcester County Institution for Savings. So they made a bank in the shape of their building, and if you, on the top, if we flip it over, you can see that you've got the place to put it. You could roll up your dollar bills or $5 bills and put them in the hole, and then you have the change you could put in the bank as well.
Now, I understand from collecting banks myself that the people at home usually didn't open the banks. They would take them to the tellers, and they had the keys. So they would open up your bank and put the money into your savings account. At least that one person had told me that. He said that it wasn't until later that, like, I have banks from Home Federal, I have some old banks from WCIS and some of the other banks, and it even says on it, it says bring to teller who has key. So what I tried to do was, I was able to get keys for most of them just by searching on the internet.
Okay.
Because there's some keys that there's one bank that tells the date, the day, and the amount of money. And the key is two-sided. You have to turn the right date, and you have to turn it the right way. And then other ones are very simple. They just open, you know, and almost every major company at one time had a bank. It was, people liked them. You ever hear that expression, pin money?
Yes.
So
Right.
I didn't even know what it meant till about 2 weeks ago. Apparently, the women way back that was trying to settle the Midwest, the guy who sells pins for sewing would come around like once a year, twice a year, and they made all their own clothes. So this was a very important day, so they put money away for the pins. I knew the expression, I never knew what it meant.
I did know that.
Now, are these, what would you say these would be going for at an auction?
You know, I've seen them run 200 and some even higher on online auctions. It's not a very common one to find.
I've never seen this one. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of interesting, going back to what you said earlier, that I think it was helpful to both people who were saving the money that they had to get it open at the bank because it would be deposited, but it would be good for the bank as well because they'd get that money and get it deposited in the bank, so it worked out well.
Well, you could picture if, you know, 500 or 600 people, I'm sure when they ordered these banks, they were in a big quantity and given out as promotional items, especially to young people starting out.
Right.
So they get 500 banks coming in here and there. It could be a lot of money.
It could be.
Now, this next item, if you could explain, I think it's great for an article from Worcester.
Yeah, I really like old photographs from Worcester, especially late 1800s, fairly early into the early 1900s. And this is a old photograph of Main Street here in Worcester. And you see Moulton's Jewelers, and I looked it up, and they were over in the 300 block of Main Street. And you can see some of the detail, horses, the old buildings.
What are those, like Model Ts or something it looks like?
Yeah, they were early cars, Model Ts, though we know this is early 1900s.
And still horses.
Still the horses, yeah, the horses were being phased out and Model Ts were coming in. So it was a nice time. Worcester was an industrial giant then, so it's...
so many. I found a book from 1869. It was all about it's one of those things, like you say, you want to keep it.
Yeah, right.
It has all the stores and shops that were in Worcester at that time. I mean, there were like 5 watch shops, 5 gun stores, corsets, shoes, you name it. And if you look at the very end of the street, you'll see WCCA TV, its offices there. We started way back, yeah. No, but it's very interesting. I love to see the vibrancy of places even back then, you know?
Yeah, and it was an exciting place to be. It's nice to look back.
Thank you. Now, Wayne, if somebody wants to consign things to your auction, how often do you have your auctions?
I wait till the quality of the items dictate a sale. So somebody else might be on a monthly or weekly schedule, but we try to sell things that we think are going to draw people from a bigger distance. So there's no set schedule. It could be 2 to 4 months sometimes. And
so it's when you get enough that you think will be a good draw.
Exactly, yeah, and that's for the live auctions, but we do also keep busy. I've got online auctions running a lot of times, and that could be even just more contemporary things, but sometimes antiques, and we'll also run estate sales, which could also be more antiques or contemporary things.
Oh, great, yeah, I love to go to estate sales.
Good, yeah.
You know, except though that one time I was asked to appraise some of the things.
Oh, okay.
And when I was appraising, 2 hours before it opened, people are walking around and filling up bags. I don't like that.
No, that's...
The name shall remain silent, but
okay.
I thought that was not above board. You know, if you advertise...
Yeah.
Well, see, I collect pocket watches as well, and it said they had 2 pocket watches. So I was there, the first one, right in the front of the line. When the door opened, no pocket watches. So you know something's wrong.
Yeah, no, you don't want to see that, and we hold off until the time. And usually there's a big waiting line. We may have
to hand out
40
numbers,
people, and we hand out numbers so that you don't end up with 50 people in a house all at once. You want to get maybe like 15 in so that
it's not pandemonium.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, if I wanted to consign something to you, do I come to you, or do you go to the person, or how does that work?
We will go to people typically, but what I do is try to get a good idea over the phone first, because there are a lot of times when maybe we're not the best fit and I can recommend another method for someone. And also now it's easy to either text somebody a picture or email
Digital
a picture.
Pictures, right.
Yeah, so it can make it easier. So then we can decide if it's a good fit, and sometimes, you know, it's a small number of items, people will bring them by, or if it's an entire state. I was in Lexington yesterday with a truck making a pickup because there was a sizable number of items.
Do you have to sort of refuse a lot of items? Because I know people have less than desirable things that they think are treasures of the Sierra Madre, you know, and they bring them in and think they're going to get big money, and you know right away.
Yeah, I try to be honest, tell them, you know, maybe give them some different avenues, maybe in that case, maybe you know, flea market dealer might be interested, maybe donating's the way to go with some of the things, but we try to steer them in the right direction.
Have you ever had something come in, and beside the coins, I mean,
Yeah.
and you were waiting for like run-of-the-mill, you looking at it, and something was really, really a treasure that came in?
Yeah, usually I can think more from going to homes, I find that,
Yeah.
but there, I'm sure there have, I can't think of anything offhand.
there's
but
so many, yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right, but I know when going to houses, I got a call one time where someone said, I have a chest that looks similar to that one in Paul Revere's house, and I was a little skeptical because that was before people started sending pictures, so
Right.
I said, I'll come take a look, but when I looked at it, it was a period chest, and it brought over $20,000,
Wow.
so.
She must have been very happy.
They were, and another couple in Shrewsbury. It seems like we'll find a lot of good things in Shrewsbury. I found another table in Shrewsbury where it was the same thing. Ended up over 20,000.
Now, I know that you have to make money, and the
Yes.
seller has to, the consignee or consignor
Right.
has to make money. So what would I pay? What's your commission rate on buying and selling?
We run with a 15% buyer's premium, but for the seller it varies because one of the reasons is I really need to see it, because if it's a few items and I have to hire help in a truck, I've got to factor that in. So we factor it all into the consignment rate instead of charging people additional for a truck.
Excuse me, Wayne, I see that we've been so engaged that we've come to the end of the show. I would like to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
You're very interesting, and I'm sure that our viewers learned an awful lot. Once again, this is Bill Safer with,
Wayne Tuiskula.
right, and have a good day. Thank you for watching, and if you would like to consider a donation, we're a nonprofit organization, anything helps. Thank you, and go out and find a treasure or two.